This is Africa Live on Hubs yet again. I know it's been a while. We've not been able to do this for a long time, and it's because, well, it's mainly because of COVID-19, but also we had I had internet connectivity issues at my home, so I couldn't, you know, talk to you about what's happening on my side of the earth. Let me tell you what's happening in Uganda right now. So Uganda right now is in what we would call political, political hysteria, for lack of a better word. So we have an election in just months from now, coming up shortly, but we also have a pandemic on our hands. Now, for a country that is um, for a third world country that is struggling with a pandemic, and now here mean dancing elections, here mean rallies and chants. These things cannot be done. They have called it a scientific election. Now, some parts of the opposition do not believe in this scientific election. They think the election needs to be as um, as uh, as pompous as it used to be before then. Now, also, there's a new player in the political field in Uganda. I think most of you know him. He's called Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, commonly known as Bobi Wine. He's a Ugandan musician who turned into a politician and is now one of the leading opposition figures in the country. Now, according to preliminary research findings, they pit him to be in second. There was a poll that just came out last month that pitted Bobi Wine second to President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has been in power for the last 35 years in Uganda. Now, it is really difficult beating incumbents in Africa. It's for those who understand African politics, it's terrible. Sometimes it gets violent. Sometimes there is bribery, voter bribery. Right now, there is a by-election, not a by-election per se, but one of the postponed primaries of the party that is in power is being, they are having an election tomorrow, and they have blockaded off a district. A district is the equivalent in the United States of a state. For example, maybe let's say the state of Washington or New York, if it's been blockaded. So we have one district that has been cut off from the rest of Uganda. Entry and exit is restricted. We have every polling station being manned by a district police commander, and we have the deputy head of the police in the whole country camping in this district. Now, this is because two of the biggest politician names in this country are going head to head, but not directly. Now, one of the candidates in this election, which has proven to be violent before, because they're just repeating the election. The first election did not happen because it was there was an outbreak of violence, and the NRM, which is the party in power's Electoral Commission, decided to call that one off. So they did the elections in the whole country and decided to keep this district and do it in a special kind of way. Now they have done it, and they're going to do it tomorrow. But all of us on waiting, we're just we're holding our breath, because we have the brother of His Excellency the President standing in an election against the daughter of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is also one of the strongest political names in Uganda, who is a man that has actually beaten Museveni in an election before. Before Museveni became president, he tried to stand for Member of Parliament, and this man beat him in that election. Now, there is a lot of history between these two. There is a lot of power involved, because Sam Kutesa, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Uganda, is a very powerful man, very rich man, extremely rich. He's a minister, has been minister since the government came into power in 1986, And then the brother of the president is also a very powerful man, given the fact that he is a sibling to the man who is in power. So there is a lot of power going on here and there. There was a lot of money changing hands in the previous election. So we'll be waiting out for this one. Then coronavirus is what the whole world is talking about. Unfortunately, in my country, coronavirus is not something that we are talking about so often because, well, there are other things people are thinking about. Right now, the most important thing, walking on the streets, talking to Ugandans, everyday Ugandans that I talk to every day, being a journalist, doing my work in the country, everyday Ugandans don't mind about what's happening with the rest of the world with coronavirus. Flights are still restricted. People cannot fly, but this is a third world country, and very few people actually get to fly out of the country. Actually, flying on a plane in my country is a reserve of the well-to-do. It's a reserve of the rich people. So it is not like people are, restricted. They cannot move because they cannot fly. The airport we have one airport in the whole country. So this whole country has one airport, and because there's only one airport, it's only an international airport, very few domestic flights, very expensive domestic flights. You would rather drive instead of flying inside Uganda. And then the only people that actually get to go to the airport are those that are going abroad, out of the continent or out of Uganda, per se, to countries that are far away. So the effects of coronavirus right now are not being felt just as they are being felt in the rest of the world, because there's an issue with, I think, planes, and people want to fly and go see places. We want to go on tour. That's not a thing in Uganda. Also, this week, yesterday, the president of Kenya announced something that Ugandans have been praying for a very, very long time. Ugandans wanted the president to extend the curfew. Now we have a curfew that starts at 9 p.m. in the night, 9 p.m. in the night to 6 a.m. every morning. So from 9 p.m., you're not supposed to be on the streets. You're supposed to have driven back home. It is hoped that everybody is at home by that time. Unfortunately, well, most of the people just failed to beat the curfew. But Ugandans thought that the president was going to lift the curfew. He didn't. Now, the president of Kenya lifted the curfew in Kenya, but also opened bars. Now, this could come as a surprise to you, who is watching this from the rest of the world, for a country that has a presidential election that could literally spell the future of the country for the next 5 years. This was a big story yesterday when Kenya announced, when the president of Kenya announced that he has opened bars and they can operate within the new curfew that he has set up. Now that was it was huge news, mostly in Uganda, because the Ugandans were saying their prayers have been answered in another country, because they also want to go to the bars and drink. The president of Uganda is not very much. He's not a fan of bars, I should say. But there's also news coming in from about coronavirus from Tanzania. Of course, Tanzania has been the defiant East African state when it comes to coronavirus. Tanzania has not followed what the rest of the world would call the standard operating procedures of fighting coronavirus. So Tanzania has simply not done anything. They didn't. The president of Tanzania did not close anything. There was no curfew. There was literally nothing. And what people are failing to explain right now is how Tanzania, after all this and no masks, the president of Uganda met with the president of Tanzania this month. I think 2 weeks ago they met at a border town, and the president of Tanzania and his entire delegation had no masks on. The president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and his entire delegation had their masks on. Even the security had their masks on, the presidential security for the Ugandan side. Now, for the Tanzanian side, they did not have security on. And when the president of Tanzania got the mic to speak, he said he asked his counterpart, Museveni, to come over so that they can sign some papers. And President Museveni told him that he's going to come with a mask. And he said, it's no problem. You can come with a mask. You can even wear a blanket if you want. But we are not wearing masks in Tanzania. So Tanzania is not wearing masks. The president of Tanzania is not wearing a mask. He's going on with life as normal. There's also an election that is pending in Tanzania, and things are just going as normal as possible. They have stadiums that are filled, fully packed, campaign rallies, fully packed. No masks while they're doing all of this. So Tanzania has only 509 reported cases of COVID-19. They have a population of 66 million people, and they only have 509 cases of COVID-19 and 29 deaths reported. Now, I add the word reported because it's quite difficult to, we have learned through the COVID-19 crisis not to be very trusting of official statistics that are coming in. It's very difficult to get information out of Tanzania. I get some information from some people who I cannot reveal, but Tanzania's official statistics are pretty low even for the East African state. Let me just tell you what's happening elsewhere. In Kenya, there are 38,378 cases as of today. 210 more cases of COVID-19 were reported in Kenya alone. In Uganda, there are 8,017 cumulative cases of COVID-19 that have been reported since March the 18th, when the first case was recorded in Uganda. And today, 240 cases were reported in Uganda. Now, Tanzania did not report their cases today. So there are days when Tanzania simply does not report cases, and then after a week or two, they come over and say we had only 50 cases or 100 cases. So that's what's happening. We've had 75 total deaths in Uganda, and then Kenya has 707 total deaths, and 7 deaths today from Kenya recorded. And then, of course, the news that the whole of the world has surpassed 1 million deaths from COVID-19 is really hard hitting for us here. And it is really, really, really hard hitting for us. But unfortunately, it is only us who have the access to social media, who can really understand how the rest of the world is coping, how people in the USA, people in the UK, people in Europe have to keep in their houses, people have been social distancing since the virus hit them until now. There are journalists who have not gotten out of their houses. There are people that have stayed in their homes for close to 5 months now. Now, we only got to stay in our homes in Uganda for 3 months, and after that, they opened the economy and everyone is moving normally. Everything is back to normal. The only thing that stands between normal pre-COVID-19 and normal right now is the curfew. Now, that is something that Kenya has already lifted. Tanzania doesn't have one, and we're now only waiting to see when the president of Uganda speaks to see if he will also get that curfew away. Also, the Ministry of Health Uganda revealed that in November, which is 1 month from now, the ministry hopes to start an antibody treatment for COVID-19. And this is going to be tested on the patients that are already in hospital. Plasma, they're using plasma from recovered patients. So they're trying to use the antibodies of these patients who have recovered, who already have the antibodies. Their bodies have managed to find ways to fight COVID-19, and they're going to be using these to treat the patients that are in hospital. It's a medication that is, still being researched at the Ugandan level. But of course, as the rest of the world and Uganda inclusive waits for the vaccine trials to come out, and we are holding our breath and hoping for the best, that life can get back to normal. So that's what happened. That's what's happening here in East Africa on Africa Live tonight. It is certainly not a night somewhere else in this world, but I'll just address you as it is right here. There's a big election tomorrow. It's not the election of the president of Uganda, but it is one that will have the president bringing out the big guns, the big money, and also the big influencers and the big names of Ugandan politics, because it is the most powerful. Some have actually called it an election between the most powerful man in Uganda and the richest man in Uganda. Now that's what we are bracing for tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow to tell you who came out on top after that election. Some of my colleagues, the journalists who have gone to cover this election, had to go with, bulletproof vests, hard hats, all these things, because elections in Uganda tend to become violent. Well, elections in most of the African countries. But I'll be telling you more about this tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye bye.